There's one mistake that salespeople make that absolutely identifies them as being an amateur. And the chances that your salespeople are making this mistake consistently, almost certain. Listen, it's a really easy problem to identify. Let's fix it right now. This is Sales Untraining, a very different kind of sales podcast. 3 out of 4 salespeople are failing. They're falling short of their revenue. Why doesn't sales training work? That's what this sales podcast is about. It's your weekly sales strategy guide designed to rewire your sales brain. Welcome to Sales Untraining. I'm Kelly Riggs. Really great to have you on the show. Hey, it is your weekly sales strategy guide designed to completely rewire your sales brain. And by now you're starting to get a little flavor for the why I say those things and why I think it's important that companies look at the systemic causes of sales failure. So many times we just want to put the blame on the salespeople. Can't find the right people, can't find good people, they're not motivated, they don't have the desire and the discipline, all those things. Hey, that could be true, no doubt about it. But let me assure you, much of the problems that exist in the world of selling are created because of the ways that we train salespeople. And the thing we want to talk about today is that amateur mistake number one. And to me, it's the biggest indicator that someone has not had professional training, they don't practice, they don't prepare for sales calls, they're an amateur. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean, they're just not good at it. Like I'm very much an amateur guitar player. I mean, I play some, but I'm an amateur. You're not going to hurt my feelings. If you're an amateur salesperson, it is more than likely because you've just never had the training and the practice and the repetitions that will make you better at what you do. So what is this one thing? It's really impossible to miss because it's so common. You go into a sales call and within 15 seconds, within 30 seconds, the salesperson is selling a product. I mean, it never fails because what happens is they get a glimpse of an opportunity. Perhaps the prospect says something like, I'm glad you dropped in. We're actually looking for a fill in the blank. Or, we've been having some problems with fill in the blank, whatever it may be. And immediately the salesperson's brain kicks into sales mode. And automatically it's like, oh, you need X? Boy, do we have X. In fact, we're the best in the business. We're the premier product in the marketplace. Everybody buys from us. Let me tell you about all these companies that think we're amazing. And here we go. Boy, we've got brochures out and we've got a slide deck and we're telling them how great the product is and all the things that it does. Sales leaders, tell me you don't see this all the time. I mean, it is so common that the minute a salesperson sees the spark of an opportunity, they jump on it. They're selling right now. I was in some training recently, and we were doing a little bit of role play. So I set it up, someone to be a buyer, someone who'd been in the industry quite a while. And I said, let's take on the persona of one of your customers, somebody you've made a call on. Think about how they react and respond and answer questions and all that. So we set it up. Here's their role. Here's the position they play. Here's the scenario we're in. It's first call. You've got a meeting. However you got that meeting's irrelevant at this point, but you've got a meeting and you go in to meet them for the first time and you are going to be the salesperson. You make the call. So they came in, they sit down, hello, Mr. So-and-so. I'm so-and-so with this company. And they little bit of introductory remark. And the buyer says, the prospect says, hey, listen, I appreciate you coming by. Tell me about your company. Well, here we go. Immediately, well, this is the business we're in. This is what we do. And it's this, sort of wordsmithed, pre-scripted thing that really doesn't mean anything. We're in the business of blah, 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 and we're great at it. And we've been doing it a long time and we're innovative and specialists and, all the things that you hear that don't mean anything to a customer. And the buyer says, well, hey, I appreciate that. So tell me what you're selling. And he says, well, we do X. This is what we sell. And he goes, it's interesting you come by because we've been having some problems with a particular part of their product line. What do you sell? Tell me about what you have. How would you address the problem? Immediately, bang. He's talking about the product, detailing the product, the features, what make the product great, how good our product is. It's product all the time. 90% of all sales presentations, sales calls that I've ever been in look like that. Number one, the buyer is controlling the conversation, typically because the buyer is in a hurry, doesn't want to sit and listen to you ramble on forever and all these things, takes control of the conversation. Tell me who you are. Tell me why you're here. Tell me what you do. Tell me about your company. What's your product line? Oh, you have, okay, listen, so tell me more about that product. And here we go. And so we become nothing more than product detailers. We're just product pushers. That's what we do. And so we stopped the call. We stopped the role play. And I talked a little bit about it. And the salesperson looked at me and he said, but Kelly, he was interested in the product. Of course I'm going to talk about the product. And I looked at him and I said, was he really? I mean, was he truly interested in the product? I think this is the big bear trap that we get caught into, because I'm going to see a salesperson and I'm going to make some snap judgments within the first 60 seconds about, can you help me? Are you a consultative expert? Are you a trusted advisor? Are you someone that immediately exudes credibility, asks the right questions, gets me into a dialogue about me and my business and things that matter to me? Or are you like 9 out of 10 salespeople that walk in the door and immediately want to start selling me something? Because after all, Kelly, that's what we pay salespeople to do, right? We pay them to sell. So they get in front of a client, prospect, a buyer, customer. They've got a need. Why wouldn't I start talking? They're interested. No, they're not. They're making conversation. Yeah, but okay, Kelly, but what if they really are interested? I don't care. I don't care if they say, hey, stop. I know exactly what you sell. I know exactly what I want, and I want to buy one today, right now. In fact, if you'll give me a price, put it on an order form, I will write you a check right here in this chair. Still not doing it. People look at me like I've lost my mind. Why is that? Well, here's why. Now stay with me. This is really important. Here's why. How many times have you made sales calls where they expressed an interest in your product and you got into this wonderful dialogue and they're back and forth and they're asking you all about it, and you get all done and you go, so, what do you think about the product? Or, what should we do next? And they go, hey, I really appreciate your time. Listen, I want to get your brochure, your price sheet, your business card, one or more of those three. And I want to talk to my team about it, or I want to take this to committee, or, we'll review this information because this is important. And I really appreciate you giving this to me. And you get ghosted. Raise your hand. How many times has that happened to you? Has it happened to you? You know it has. You know why? Because you believe that if they ask you about your product, they must be interested. And they just want to know about the product, and that's the only thing standing between them and making a purchase. And 99.99% of the time, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. Okay, yes, do they want the information? Absolutely. My job is not to give them information. My job is to influence them to make a purchase at the right time, with the right information, with the right decision makers, with the right message, the right solution, all put together at the right time, where the psychology and the influence of selling work for me, and I convince them to purchase from me now rather than a competitor. Giving them information about a product doesn't do that. Oh, is it part of the process? Sure it is. But if you lead with that, all you've done is fire all the bullets in your gun and you're done. And now you're like, oh, okay, so when can I follow up? We'll get back to you. Well, can I give you a call next week? Well, shoot me an email and we'll see if we can set something up. I mean, they're just pushing you out. Yes, they wanted your information, but if you think they're interested in buying something, you're kidding yourself. Right? Well, okay, so Kelly, what should I do then? Well, coming up next, I'm going to show you exactly what to do. Stay with me. Hey, thanks for making Sales Untraining your first listen of the week. And if you find something you like, if you hear something that's interesting, I hope you'll share it with somebody you know. You can find out more about me at bizlockerroom.com or email me, kelly@bizlockerroom.com. Now back to the show. This is one of the reasons why I love sales contests. Don't hear a lot about those anymore either. And I'm a huge fan. And I'm not talking about, some of the things that companies come up with that, seem completely overblown and too hard to reach and only one person wins and things like that. I'm talking about well thought out sales contests in which you involve the sales team and figure out what would be truly rewarding. What do you want? Cash? Do you want an opportunity to pick out a set of golf clubs or a 75-inch UHD TV or, one of 3 or 4 prizes you get to choose? And how do you get there? What's the behavior I want to reinforce in the sales contest? Welcome back to Sales Untraining. So good to have you in the podcast. Listen, can I ask you a favor? Pause for a minute if you haven't already. Please like and subscribe to the podcast so we can build a community of people who talk about all the things associated with training salespeople effectively. What's our objective? Transform our sales teams, get better quickly, solve some of the big problems that exist because we're creating them the way we train salespeople. So if you're still with me, you're thinking, okay, Kelly, all right, I'm with you. It's true. We do start selling very quickly. And yeah, I've always thought that, there's something wrong with that. I really didn't know what. Here's the real challenge. It violates the psychology of human interaction. I mean, within 30 seconds or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, suddenly I trust you enough to make a purchase. I go from first time I've ever met you and talked to you to you're going to start showing me a product and detailing a product to me and I'm going to be interested enough to buy it. Now, every salesperson that I've ever talked to that does business to business, complex business selling, that it's not being sold online, it's not SaaS services, and even those things apply, but it's not transactional selling, it's not retail selling, it's complex B2B selling. Everybody says the same thing. Selling is about relationships. It is. People buy from people they like and trust. Do you really think they trust you in 3 minutes or 5 minutes? But yeah, Kelly, once I tell them all about the product, no, there's a process of building a bond with a potential buyer where the first thing that they look for, the first thing they buy in their minds is just credibility. You're credible. You sound like someone that I could begin to trust. You don't sound like a pushy salesperson. You don't fit my profile of, pushy, talks too much, only interested in themselves, just trying to push a product on me. You get past that first gate, you get in the second gate, you ask some good questions, third gate, you start to have some real dialogue about real challenges that I'm facing. Hey, now we're going places. But what will happen, because buyers are just like you are, they're hardwired to be efficient, to go as fast as possible, to get everything as quickly as they can. When they get into a meeting, they've got 12 more meetings today, right? I mean, they're loaded up. They've got 100 problems, a dozen issues, 10 meetings scheduled, and they've got 15 minutes to have this conversation. What do you got? Tell me what you got. I cannot tell you how many times as a young sales guy I'd walk into someone's office and they'd say, and they'd be doing other things, looking at a report and picking something up and checking their messages. And they're like, hey, what do you got for me? And they're controlling the dialogue of the conversation by getting what they want so that they can move on to the next thing that they have to do. Well, it's not personal. They're not trying to treat you badly. They're just trying to get the most out of the day like every other manager, leader out there in the business world. And so what we have to do is change that dynamic. Somebody comes in and says, hey, listen, thanks for stopping by, Kelly. Tell me about your company. Man, I would absolutely like to tell you more about what we do, but I need to ask you a question first, if you don't mind. And I'm going to ask them a question. I've pre-prepared the question. I mean, I know what questions move the needle. I know how to get a conversation started with someone where they start talking about themselves, their company, their issues, their challenges. You know how I know that? Because I've worked at it. I've practiced. I've prepared. I call them strategic dialogue questions. Right? So you say, so what do you sell? You know, we've got a broad line of products. You know, broadly speaking, we're an XYZ industry. It certainly doesn't make us unique, but there are some things that do make us a little different when we talk to our customers. But my question for you, Mr. Prospect, is, and I've got a question for that prospect that's going to begin to create conversation. You want to control the dialogue, you learn how to ask the question that's interesting, that matters, that they're introspective. They go, well, you know, we're really struggling with X. Or, you know, since you mentioned those three problems, we actually do struggle with the one. Or, you know, the challenges that we're facing are, how do I get them to come and just blurt those things out? It doesn't happen by saying, what's keeping you up nights? You know, that sounds, you know, magical, right? No, I tell you what keeps me up nights: indigestion. I mean, you know, we're trying to get their pain points. Yes, we are. But we've got to do it in a way that normal human beings, when they meet each other, just have normal conversations that evolve. We don't start interrogating people and all that. And I've had people say, wait a minute, they know why we're there. They know what we're doing. What's wrong with asking questions and getting as much information as possible immediately about their product and their issues and their problems? Nothing. If you do it in the right ways, where it's just natural. But we're talking about you, Mr. Prospect, not about me and my products and everything I do. Human relationships aren't built that way. People get interested in people who are interested in them. So one of the things that I want to do is when I spot an opportunity, if they say, you know, we've had some challenges with fill in the blank, or we've been looking for a certain fill in the blank. Well, why not find out what's going on behind the curtains? Tell me more about that. Why are you looking for something like that? What's been the problem in the past? What kind of issues has this created since this isn't working well? Or are you upgrading? Are you trying to evolve the productivity or efficiency or output of this particular machine or process or whatever? I mean, if you work at it, if you practice it, and you learn how to just have a normal dialogue with someone where you're discovering what's important to them. I mean, you know, in sales process, we talk about discovery. Well, discovery is not about creating an interrogation so that you can fill in a list of detailed specs with questions about those specs so that you can go, aha, I know what it is that you need, and we're the vendor. I mean, we're the people that do it better than everybody. Now, let me pull out all the stops, tell you everything I know about our products and how great we are and how everybody loves us, and then you'll want to buy it. You know that's not true. It's just not. I mean, it's not. There are the presence of competitors, and there's 100 things going on behind the curtain that they have to resolve before they would ever make a decision in anybody's favor. My job is to find out what those factors are. What are the things going on behind the curtain? The way to do that is to transition to where you're the one asking the question. Hey, love to tell you more about my company. And before I jump into it, Mr. Prospect, I've got a question for you. I'm doing some homework and I ran across this tidbit of information about you guys, and I've just got to ask you about that. How's that going? People typically love to talk about themselves, their accomplishments, their objectives, what they're trying to do. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Of course there are. But what we're trying to do is build an approach that works the vast majority of time, that leads to very naturally evolving conversations, so that I can do one thing in that call: schedule my next call. I don't sell in the first call. I don't. Not ever. Remember I said, I don't care if they say I'll write you a check. I'm not doing it. I have to say, hey, before we do that, and listen, I appreciate the offer, and, certainly we'd love to do business with you. But, I wouldn't be doing my job well, Mr. Prospect, if I didn't go back and look at a couple of things that you've made me think about. I think there may be some ways to save you some money, save you some time, create some additional benefits for you, change the way these things have happened in the past, and minimize the amount of risk you have. I'd like to do a little bit of homework and come back and share a couple of ideas with you. Does it make sense to set up an appointment for next Thursday and talk about it? Thank you, James Muir. By the way, if you haven't read James Muir's book, The Perfect Close, just took that question right out of his book. Shameless plug for James Muir. All right, that's the objective. Our objective when we discover an opportunity is to treat it like a spark, throw gasoline on it, get more information, make it come to life, have them tell you, here's the problems, here's the issues we're dealing with, here's how it makes me feel, here's what would happen if we could fix it. When all that comes from the client, then I have the opportunity to just slide my product in as a solution that's going to help them deal with all that, and it's much more meaningful. I'm Kelly Riggs. This is Sales Untraining. I'll see you next time.
Sales Untraining is a production of Business Locker Room and Pod About It Productions. Music and editing by Doug Branson. To get more Kelly, visit bizlockerroom.com.